Okay, now let's look at the next problem that we need to address. Okay, source. Okay, to find the compound interest given the amount, rate of interest and time in years. Okay, so basically compound interest can be calculated using two different ways. One is by directly using the formula, or by using the simple interest formula and setting it up in a loop, so that for every year the simple interest is calculated and added to the original amount, so that the interest can be calculated for the next year. Okay, so hash include iostream.h, hash include conio.h, void main. Okay, so now we need to initialize the variables. So remember, since the lot of calculations are involved, we might have to go for decimal places. So float principal amount. It's always better to give proper meaningful names to the variables, so that is why I'm giving as principal amount, net amount, then rate of interest, and the compound interest. Okay, so now apart from that, we require the time, right? So int let's say years, and since for every year we are going to calculate, okay, leave it for the moment. Okay, years we require. Okay, so let's clear the screen and let's provide a prompt. Let's say enter the principal amount, rate of interest and time. Okay, scene will be what? I keep forgetting this. Okay, so principal amount, then rate of interest and let's say time. Okay, so let's say this is time, because that is how usually the formula goes: principal into rate of interest into time. Okay, now let's say net amount to begin with. At the beginning of the first year, for the first year, net amount will be your principal amount. Okay, now we need to have a some way of keeping track of for which year we are calculating the interest. So we require year. Okay, so year is equal to 1 to begin with. So now while year is less than or equal to time. So if the time is 5 years, so year will be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. Then 6, the moment it becomes 6, this condition becomes false and we come out of the loop. Okay, so now let's see, we need to calculate the um, net amount. So net amount is equal to net amount into 1 plus, okay, let's do it slightly step by step. Oh, okay, so let us say let's add one more variable. Let's say interest or compound interest, we have it. So compound interest is equal to the अपना normal, although the variable name is compound interest, but we are using the simple interest formula. So some simple interest would formula will be principal amount into rate of interest into principal amount rate of interest time is 1, right? So time is 1 in this case, so we can actually ignore that and divide it by 100. Okay, so then now remember one thing, every time it goes through this loop, it is going to override this compound interest. So what we need to do is we need to accumulate it, compound interest plus, right? So every time it is going to get accumulated. Okay, and net amount will be net amount is equal to net amount plus compound interest. Okay, and we need to increase the value of the year, so year plus plus. Okay, now remember, year plus plus is as good as saying year is equal to year plus 1. Okay, so that completes this loop. Now okay, now compound interest. So okay, so let's display the results. Compound interest, okay, sorry, so see out compound interest is equal to compound interest is equal to compound interest, see out, and we need to display what, net amount. Okay, now we can do it in many different ways. Okay, so let's say now net amount. Okay, so then after that, of course, get ch. Now let's run this program and see what happens. Okay, let's say 1000 for at the rate of 10% for 1 year. Okay, it's easy to calculate. So compound interest would be, okay, 10% will be 100. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. Okay, so compound interest is becoming too big. So let's see if we remove this, what happens. It should not get accumulated. Okay, so let's run this again. Okay, bracket. Okay, 1000. Always start with simple calculations. 10% for 1 year. So our interest should be 100 and net amount should be 1100. 100, 1100. Great. Now let's say 1000 at the rate of 10% for 2 years. So it should be what? For the first year it should be 1100. Then on top of that 10% will be 110. So 110 plus 1210 or something like that should come. It's coming as 1200. Compound interest is coming as 100. Now there is something wrong here. There is something wrong here. Okay, so here principal into rate of interest, for that. Okay, okay, let's run it again. I've already done one sample example. I have already done it, so let's try that. For 5 years, 100. No, and this is wrong. So we need to there is some problem. Okay, compound interest is equal to okay, first time it is coming like that, then net amount, accumulating it. Oh, this should be net amount. Every time we have to use the cumulative amount. Okay, now let's try this. 1000, 10% for 2 years, 1210. Great, correct. Okay, and let's try the one which I had previously mentioned. 1000 at the rate of 10% for 5 years. 146, 1610. Correct. No, compound interest is 610 it should be. So that means compound interest is getting compound interest is not coming correctly. So compound interest is not coming correctly because it is not getting accumulated. Okay, so let's change this to net amount minus principal amount. 1000, 10% and 5 years. Great, correct. Let's save it. File, quit.